Hello, folks. Welcome to Holding On with Holder, where I talk to interesting people about interesting topics. My name is Steve Holder, and I am your host. My guest this evening is Dr. Dawn Menge. Dr. Menge has won 31 national awards as the author of the Queen Vernita educational series. She holds a PhD in curriculum and instruction, a master's degree, and a Clear Credential in moderate to severe disabilities, and a bachelor's degree in human development. So what do you do in your spare time?
Well, my day job is I teach students with severe cognitive delays. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and today was our last day of school.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with me. Tell us a little bit about you, and how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as being adventuresome, and I enjoy family, very family oriented. In fact, all of my books are based on my family, and our real adventures. So I get to share them with the world.
Okay.
And it's actually now it's up to, I don't know, it's probably over 41 awards now, and they're international awards that I've won. So
Okay.
on my series. So.
Well, I got your information off of your website, I think.
I know I'm going to update it.
So 41 awards now, huh?
Yeah. In fact, I entered the Hollywood Dreams Film Festival, which is something I started doing about a year ago, I think. I saw something on Facebook, and it was for the Conquering Disabilities with Film Festival. And I entered this book, Queen Vernita Conquers the Volcanic Islands. It has Rett syndrome and autism in it. And also this one, the astronomy book. And they won. I'm getting the Special Recognition Champion Award in July. We're going to Vegas. And so through that, and then the book trailers also won. So through that, I was getting invited to other film festivals. And I was a finalist for one in Italy. And I just won a finalist for the Hollywood Dreams Film Festival. And so I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I'm looking forward to the film festival.
Okay. So who is this Queen Vernita?
Well, Queen Vernita it's named after my grandmother, Vernita. And she was an astute businesswoman. Her and my great-grandfather, went door to door and got members and created the United Methodist Federal Credit Union here in Southern California. So they were both world travelers, and through them, they taught my mom how to travel, and then she taught me how to travel or gave me a love for the traveling. And that my parents, we live in the mountains, and my parents had a sailboat down in Oceanside, and for like 25 years. So we went down there a lot and loved the ocean. So I published this one first, and I was just publishing a book. That's all I was doing, because teachers like to do things like that. And so I started winning awards. I immediately won first place in the Evie Award, which is out of Colorado. It's an independent publisher. And I started getting interviews, and then people were asking me, well, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, I don't know. That's what I was doing. So decided to have the Queen travel around her kingdom and learn about the different areas in the kingdom, since I love to travel. So this one is based on my little brother. He's an astronomer at JPL. And so we called him Heathy Bean when he was little. And so he is Sir Heathy Bean, and he wanted to have the crazy hair and the bunny slippers. So that's what he has in the book. And so he teaches everybody about the planets. And so every month, the format of my books is every month is a new subject and a new friend. So the Queen has a new friend. And this person is Jake, and he has cerebral palsy. So he's telling Sir Heathy Bean about that. And then Sir Heathy Bean is teaching him about astronomy. And this little boy, he was one of my students, and he has Down syndrome. And so he's part of this book. So everybody in my stories is a real person in my life. Okay. And so they all get to be part of the book. The first one that we did, we put in all of the children in the family. thinking, they're not going to complain. They're little, they'll like to be in a book. And after I published it, the adults wanted to be in the books, which really surprised me. And so that's what I've done. And some of the books, I have like whole families in the books. And all of the adventures are mine. So I don't do anything in my books, put them in my books, unless I've actually done them. And this one, not this one, we just did this one has, this is Ireland and Heather. And they are real people. And Ireland has Rett syndrome. And so in this page, she's teaching the Queen how to put a lei together. She's making them for all of her classmates. And so she's teaching the Queen why she needs help and what she needs help with. And then she's also teaching everyone who's reading the book that she wants to be part of her family or part of the classroom also, and that she has friends. And then this one, I won a trip to Oahu, and I took all of my kids. And one thing I wanted to do was go in a shark cage. So we went over to the North Shore, and we went in the shark cage. And I went in. We went 10 miles out, and I went in with the boys in my family. And my daughter was on the top of the boat feeding the sharks so they would come around. And so it was really neat. The boys wanted to touch them, and it was really fascinating. And so when it was her turn to get in the shark cage, she wouldn't go because she saw the sharks jumping out of the water and eating all the meat, and it scared her. So, but that was one fun thing that we did. And this one is my son, and this is in Bora Bora. And we went down. It was kind of between snorkeling and scuba diving. We had a helmet that weighed about 10 pounds, and it had air in it. And then it kind of like pushed us down to the bottom, just about 10 feet under. And so we were feeding the fish. And then this was a real picture that my illustrator took and made into one of the illustrations. And so all of these things are real. And this is Connor. And Connor has autism, and he is one of my students. And he's teaching the Queen. He uses a communication device because he's nonverbal. So he's teaching the Queen about his communication device, and they're at the Volcanic National Park. So all of my books have real people and real adventures in them.
Okay. So when did you start writing, and what got you interested in writing?
This one was published in 2008. And it was an assignment in a math class when I was getting my credential. We had to write a math book and a math game. So the original story actually had my students in it. And it was called Queen Victoria, because my student's name was Victoria. And we actually used this as kind of a small play. And we traveled around to some of the elementary schools and did a little skit. And then we did it for the kindergartners through the second graders. And then I would go back the next day and I would answer any questions that the children had about my students, their behaviors or why they were doing the things that we're doing. So we used it as an educational tool. And then when I decided that I wanted to go ahead and publish it, I put my family in it. So I've been publishing for many, many years now. And so I've accumulated, I just published my 13th book.
Okay.
So
is children's books all that you write? Have you ever written anything else?
Well, I wrote my dissertation. And that was based on my students also. It's based on the federal goals. But no, I have not ventured past anything from children's books. But the one thing I do is I actually saw a speech by Kwame Alexander, and he's a very popular middle grade author. And he said, yes, you say yes to everything you can. And then one opportunity will lead to another opportunity. And so I started doing that. And so part of that is what I do is I write book reviews for Story Monster magazine. It's an educational magazine. And I judge their literacy contests. And I also judge some romance books at the beginning of the summer for Indie Tale. So I kind of ventured out to do something different. And I'm also in an organization called United States Board on Books for Young Children. And I'm on their committee to pick some of the best books for or about disabilities. So that's something else that we do. So if anybody's watching and they write a book about a disability, or they have a disability and they write it, send it to the organization and we'll look at it.
Okay. So do your grandchildren read your books?
Yes, they do. And they love being in them. This is one I just did a year ago. And we took the train from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And then when we came back, we got on the Polar Express. And this is our family. There was 19 of us on this adventure. And so I turned it into a pre-K to first grade book. And this is my grandson. He fell asleep in Santa's lap. And so, yes, they love reading the books. They love being in the books. These are my grandsons. And we were robbed while we were on the train by the bandit. And he actually held my grandsons up like this. And this is a real picture. And she was able to make it into an illustration. So she's very, very talented. And then this one is my boys. This is their feet at the Grand Canyon. And when we got there, it was snowing. And they were doing this. And of course, we were all panicking. And I was like, I can't watch this. But there was a ledge underneath them, but you couldn't see it. They could see it. So it looks like they're just hanging over the Grand Canyon. But so it was a lot of fun. And so this is the one I did for our train ride. And then this one is based on Baja, Mexico. And we went down there to Estapa and we went swimming with the dolphins. And when we were here, we were riding on the dolphins like this. And then we also, they took two dolphins and they put their noses up to the back of our feet and they pushed us into the air and flung us into the air. And so that was like a lot of fun. And this one, we were camping in a place called El Golfo, Mexico. I don't think anybody's ever heard of it. And we were just walking and all of a sudden all these people were gathering on the beach. Well, there was a grunion. The grunions were there. And so we went and we gathered them and then they were cooking them. I was not eating them, but other people were cooking them. And so that one and this one, we went on a cruise with all of our family and we went on a family rafting trip in Acapulco. And it was supposed to be a very easy trip, but the water was very low and our guide was from Peru. And so he wasn't familiar with the river at all. So another boat got a hole in it. So we had a bunch of extra people on our boat and they didn't know how to row. They didn't know how to do it. And so we ended up getting trapped against a rock. And because I was in the front, my son and I were in the front, I got pushed up into the rock and the boat was pushing me with all the people in it. And they were climbing out onto the rock, but I was getting stuck under the rock. So I had to let go. And I went down the rapids and I could feel the water over my head. And I could hear the whistle blowing. And I popped up and I saw my son standing on this rock and he's like, turn around, turn around. And so I turned around because if you hit your back with the rocks, you could get really hurt. So you have to go with your feet first. And then they came and they got me. And then on the cruise, we were the talk of the town or talk of the boat. You know, that lady that fell out of the boat. So it was an adventure. It was kind of scary, but I'm glad I made it through that one. And this one, I went on a cruise and we went on a quad ride to a German eatery. And then, so this is one, and it's talking about the German food that we ate there. So they're all based on my real adventures. This one, we kayaked to the La Bufadora. So we went out into the ocean to look at it from the ocean side. And this one is a friend of mine, and she has a therapy dog. And this is her dog and her, and she's teaching people about therapy dogs. And she actually takes her dog to the Los Angeles airport and help soothe the passengers there when they spend a lot of time there. So it teaches you all about that.
Do you ride every day?
No, when I first started, I had a goal that I wanted to do 1 book a year. And then of course I got busy and things just, I couldn't do that. So when we started the pandemic, and I teach, so then we started teaching from home, I thought, you know what, this is a really good time for me to catch up. So this year I've published 3 books. I have 1 that we're working on the illustrations. And then this summer, I'm going to go to Wyoming and research a book with someone that I grew up with. So that'll be another book. And so I've been writing while we're in the pandemic. I've been writing, but they're all based on the same format. So days of the week, months of the years, and then they just go from pre-K to 6th grade. So once I've researched something and decided what I want to write about, it doesn't take very long at all. It takes like a week or 2 to actually get it all down. And then of course the editing and all of that. I just published one. We go up to Halama Beach. It's on the central coast of California. And we go camping every year. It's our family camping trip. So I just wrote a book on that and just published it. I think it came out last week. And it's a pre-K to 1st grade, and it's got kite flying and fishing and camping and ostriches and emus. And so it's a fun read. It'd be great for the summer, making s'mores. But that one, I think we had went through editing like 6 times. I didn't think we would ever get it right. I was like, I don't care this time. I'm done. Just publish it. It was getting really frustrating. But
Do you read a lot?
I used to love to read. I used to love to read. In fact, when I was growing up, I was in the 3rd grade and I had trouble learning to read. And so my dad sat down with me every single night until I could read. And then I just loved it. And when I was growing up, I loved Nancy Drew and the Boxcar Children, and the Outsiders. And then as I got older, I liked Stephen King and mysteries. And now that I was in my 40s, I started liking the crime dramas, Criminal Minds and all of that. And so those are the kind of books that I would like to read. But, in the last couple of years, my brain's too tired. I carry books around with me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this book. And I read like 2 pages. And I'm just like, I can't read anymore. But that's one reason I actually started doing the romance books, because I thought I'm going to make myself read for entertainment, because I read a lot for education and my teaching job and all of that. And sometimes I work as a lecturer at the college. And so I don't really get to read for fun. So I thought, okay, if I do this, I have to read for fun. So the beginning of every summer now, I think this is the 4th year I've done this, I get to read a romance book. It's a light read, it's an easy read, but at least I get to read a little bit.
So what college do you teach at?
I teach at Cal State San Bernardino.
Okay. You've been there for a while?
Yeah, I work in the, I've been there, I think 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I'm like a sub lecturer because I have a full-time job as a teacher. And so when they need an extra professor, they hire me. Last year, when the pandemic started, I was teaching law, special education law. And so I did that for 2 quarters, and then I haven't taught since then. But when I get to retire from my teaching job, I would like to start doing that more full-time and helping the new teachers. I had a class a couple of years ago where I got to work with the brand new teachers in the classrooms. And it was just so much fun to talk to them and, learn their experiences and kind of help them along and let them know, I've been doing this for 20 years and stuff still happens, because you're working with children and families and, stuff happens, but I really enjoyed it. And something else I do for the county is I also help mentor several teachers who are new teachers for us. And I did that this year and I really enjoyed it. And it was a lot of fun to get to know them and their teaching. So
do you enjoy teaching the handicapped children more than you do your writing?
Well, it's what I do as my day job. So I do enjoy it. I love working with the families. I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to start, retiring. My books, I like the traveling part of the books for sure. Where am I going to go? What am I going to write about? That's one thing our family did during the pandemic is we camped a lot. So we went to Zion and the Grand Canyon, and we went to the Sequoias. And so when we go, I'm like, okay, this is going to make a good book. Yeah. And, like the kids were riding the bike along the rim. Okay, that'll be one page. And, we were hiking. That's another page. So every time we go somewhere, that's always kind of a thought in my head. And before the pandemic, I was doing a lot of stuff with the work with the Story Monster magazine. They're out of Tempe, Arizona. So I would actually go there at a point there, I was going there once a month to do an event with them or something that they were doing. And so I was actually getting kind of tired. And so I like the interactions of going to the book signings and doing all of that kind of thing. And that's one thing that authors don't really get a lot of. People think that authors know that they like their books or that what they've gotten out of it. But you know what? Unless you actually tell them, they don't know who's reading their books or what they're getting out of it, because everybody gets something different out of them. I had a couple months ago, I had an interview with somebody, and so I think he was in St. Louis, and he said that his friend knew who I was because they had been checking the books out of the library. And she actually got a second job so that she could take her son traveling. Now, if I hadn't done that interview, I would never have known that. I didn't even know my book was in the library there, And a couple of weeks ago, I had Bunko. And so a bunch of ladies came. I live in a small town. And I had my banner up, and she's like, why do you have that up there? And I was like, well, I write books. And I started talking about them. She'd been buying my books because her mom's name was Vernita. And she's like, oh, you're a real person, like you live up here. And I'm like, yeah. And so she bought another book. But you just never know, who you're going to meet or who you're going to affect or what they're going to get out of the books.
Yeah.
So so I do recommend that anybody, if they really like a book or it really made an impact on you, let the author know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't just say bad stuff, say all the good stuff.
Yeah.
I really connected with your story, or this happened to me kind of a little differently, but and that's one thing I really encourage, like new authors, if people want to write but they don't think they have anything to write about, nobody wants to hear my story. It's happened to everybody, and no, it hasn't happened to everybody that way. Or you might write a story and you might help someone that you don't know them, and you don't know how you're going to connect with them, but you could be a lifesaver sometimes and not know it.
Absolutely.
So if you want to write and you have to look at, I always tell you have to look at yourself. Don't go looking out in the world like, oh, well, how am I going to make up this story? Just stories in your life. Somewhere in your life, you have a story, even if you don't think it's exciting, or it's a story and it's going to matter to somebody. My brother and I did a book signing in an elementary school, and I did the kindergartners, and he was doing the third graders. And so he was doing a second assembly. So I was standing in the back, and he was introducing me to the children, and he was telling them what I did. And this little boy says, oh, my sister was in one of your classes, not my class, but one of our kinds of classes. And he said, my sister had just died. And so he started talking about his sister. And afterwards, the teachers told us that he hadn't spoken in weeks after his sister died. And just because we just were there and then this is what I do, it connected with him, and he felt comfortable enough to start talking about it in front of everybody. And so, afterwards we gave him a set of the book and took pictures and stuff. But, we had an impact on him that we didn't know we were going to have. We didn't go in there thinking, oh, we're going to impact this little child who lost his sister. We went there thinking we're going to teach them astronomy, or calendar. You don't know who you're going to connect with.
So how would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered, well, one thing, this is a legacy for my family, so I would like my family to remember, all of our great memories. And I would like to be remembered as someone who made an impact on families, whether it's my students' families or anybody who's read any of my books or anybody who's learned something from my interviews. Just that I brought something really positive into the world.
Yeah.
So
We can certainly use a lot more positive things, that's for sure.
yeah.
So what's your biggest accomplishment, you think?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. My children.
Okay.
I have 3 children. They're all in their late 30s. They're all married and have homes, and I'm going to have my 6th grandbaby in July.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that.
Do you have them all spoiled?
You know what? They're spoiling themselves.
Oh.
I started out kind of spoiling them, and they're just doing their own thing. So that's really nice.
Okay.
So it's hard on me but you know what? That means I taught them well, and they don't need me, and we just get to have fun together. So
Good deal.
yeah,
So
I have
what is your website? Where can people find your books?
Dr. Dawn Menge, and I am updating it. And I have a Facebook, Dawn Menge 1, an Instagram, Dawn Menge, and a Twitter, Queen Vernita.
See, now I'm embarrassed. I mispronounced your last name, didn't I?
Oh, that's okay.
I
Everybody
thought it
does.
was Menge. I should have asked. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Everybody does.
Well, I have enjoyed talking to you, and I thank you for coming on my show. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up that I haven't given you a chance to say?
No, just go out there and live your life and find an adventure somewhere.
Okay, well, good deal. Thank you, Dr. Menge. I appreciate you being on, and good luck with all your books, and congratulations on all those many awards.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. Folks, thanks for tuning in to Holding On with Holder. Please subscribe to my channel and feel free to share this video over social media. And be sure to check out the Queen Vernita series. Thank you very much. And I'll let you go, and you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.